What is up, everyone? Today we are talking about a readathon that I'm doing in December, which is, of course, the Shelf Space Discord server readathon. So I'm going to be talking about my plans for what I'm reading in that and like what prompts the books that I'm reading fulfill. I'm going to do like the quickest wrap up ever because I've got dedicated reviews to all the books I've read. So I don't really feel like I have to do a wrap up. But first, of course, shout outs to my Team Snow Miser. Team captain, of course, Alan over at Library of Alexandria. And of course, as you guys know, readathons are competitions to the death. And there is no one who I'd rather have be my captain in a competition to the death than Library of Alexandria. Alan, he's one of those people who studies for trivia. Like, I feel like we have a pretty good chance because of that. And his channel is hilarious. I'm going to link everyone's channel in the description below. Next, we've got Alicia, who is one of the nicest people. I've been watching her videos for the last month or so. BookTube is generally like a place of nice people, and she's like above and beyond in like the niceness, it seems to me. So yeah, definitely go follow her. Then we've got Lyra, who's a very new booktuber. And yeah, Lyra's just like very easy to talk to, and she's just very friendly, and definitely go watch her videos and comment on them because yeah, it's easy to strike up a conversation. Then we've got Pete, who is also a very new booktuber. This man has read all things Brandon Sanderson. So, I mean, he's like more of a Sanderson fan than I am. So, props to Pete. Go check out his channel. I'm sure he'll be talking about Rhythm of War and stuff. Next, we have Patty, who is not a booktuber, but has a Bookstagram account, which I will link. So, go follow Patty. All right, so let's get into it. On the screen, I'm just going to put the prompts so everyone can see what I'm trying to do. And you get points for completing prompts or just reading pages. So I'm not going to complete all the prompts because, as you guys will see, I'll have some long books. So yeah. First, we've got two books that I'm already over halfway done with. So first, Sword of Kaigan by M.L. Wong. And this book is self-published, which is one of the prompts. So boom, done. I'm going to have a full dedicated review to this tomorrow, so I'm not going to talk about this too much right now, but overall, I love it. Definitely check it out, and check out my review tomorrow on Fantasy Friday at 8:30 Eastern Time. Next, we've got A People's History of the United States, which is great. I've been going through it unfortunately very slowly because I'm getting distracted by Brandon Sanderson and other big fantasy books. But yes, this is great. I'll have a review up for this next week, and it's just a history book that is very good for supplementing your K through 12 history education. And this book takes the perspective of the oppressed people and like kind of like the people on like the right side of history almost, like abolitionists, suffragettes, Native Americans, and like how they were exploited and stuff. And you know, they're like not to get too political, but there's this myth out there that people on the left are like super confident about the government doing things. Read this. The left does not really want the government to do everything at all. And yes, it's just a very honest look at history, and I'm really learning a lot. Oh, and this one I'm using for unlikable protagonist because the way the US is portrayed in this is not like positive. So anyway, next book. Boom, Rhythm of War. I'm reading Dawnshard first, and I'm just going to read like an ebook copy of it. But yeah, Rhythm of War. I kind of just wanted to wait on this book because Oathbringer was very long. It took a lot out of me. I needed a little Sanderson break. But now I'm back. I'm ready to read Dawnshard and this. And yeah, I'm just going to fly through this hopefully and just rack up points for page count. Dawnshard will be a novella because it is a lot shorter than obviously these massive books in the series, and Dawnshard's like, I don't even know, like 50,000 words. So yeah, that's the short story. This has some romance. It's definitely not like a romance book, but it could fill out that prompt, or it could fill out the magical creatures prompt, because there's definitely a lot of magic and some magical creatures. So they aren't elves, but they still count anyway. Oh, and this is my buddy read in my Discord for December as well. So if you're reading this and you want someone to talk about it with, or you've already read it, definitely join my Discord. Next, we've got the Shelf Space Discord book of the month pick. It's actually Team Captain Allen's pick for the Shelf Space Discord readathon, and picking a shelf space book is one of the prompts, so check. And I don't really know too much about this book, but I know at the start of the book, the king is like assassinated or cooed or whatever. And yeah, Promise of Blood is the first book in a series called the Powder Mage Trilogy. So I know there's like gunpowder that's used as like the magic system sort of thing, and like different powders do different things, I think. I'm not really sure. Again, I don't really know anything about this, but yeah, definitely looking forward to reading this with everyone in the Shelf Space Discord, which again, I will link. Next, we've got The New Jim Crow, which is my nonfiction book of the month pick, and it was actually my pick for last month, if you watch my TBR for last month, but I was dragging my feet through A People's History of the United States that I just didn't get here, unfortunately. So yeah, The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. So as you guys know, the George Floyd thing happened. Black Lives Matter has been going on for years, but it got more support over this summer. And there have been just massive, unprecedentedly large, not violent protests, particularly for how large the protests are and how little violence there is. So MLK would be very proud, I think. And yeah, this is a classic. It's came out like 10 years ago. Huge bestseller. And to me, I think something like this is more helpful, again, for me personally to read than something like White Fragility. White Fragility, I know I haven't read it, but I know it focuses on internalized racism and interpersonal racism, whereas this book focuses more on systemic racism and like institutional and structural racism, right? And again, for me, growing up, obviously you guys know I'm totally fine talking about political stuff. So I've like had numerous conversations over the years about like racism, microaggressions, like things of that nature with people of different races, and very like serious and heavy conversations. So I don't really need to read a book like White Fragility about those sorts of conversations, because again, I'm like strongly not adverse to those already, and I'm very comfortable having them. In fact, I'm going to continue having them. But this is more interesting because it talks about redlining, it talks about incarceration rates, it talks about education, and just like systems that have been used to sometimes disenfranchise, sometimes disincentivize, and sometimes just to plain make it more difficult for African Americans in this country because the institutions themselves have racist practices like redlining. Even though they're not allowed to like redline based on race, they'll redline based on, you live in like this neighborhood, well, we aren't really investing in that neighborhood now. Oh, it's a black neighborhood, well, no, that's not why we're not investing in that neighborhood, it's because of like this other reason, blah blah blah. You guys get the picture. Banks being banks, right? Corporations being corporations. And then like over policing, it's like the same thing. It's like we're arresting black people who commit crimes, and it's like, all right, well, what are those crimes? First of all, are they like non-violent drug possession crimes? And if they are, how long are they being incarcerated for? If they're being incarcerated for like life, for instance, well, why? Like, is that really like necessary? Is that beneficial to society? Or is it just like because some lawmakers and some people who vote on those lawmakers are racist or are just plain okay with racism and don't really have an opinion, that these policies get implemented that over-target and over-police African-American communities. So yeah, if you couldn't tell, I'm looking forward to reading this. I won't go on and on, but yeah, this is definitely an Own Voices book because Michelle Alexander is an African-American woman talking about African-American issues, so yeah, great. And honestly, I don't think I could fit this book in any other way in the prompts because, it's more of a fantasy Discord, the Shelf Space Discord, which is great. Again, join my Discord if you want the political talk. Join my Discord if you want to talk about this book. All right, next, I've got a few books in my hand. So what prompts do I have open? Red cover. So Poppy War, which is something that I've been wanting to read, has red on the cover. And also Scent Sword of Kaigan was described as like similar to Poppy War, and I'm loving Sword of Kaigen. I think Poppy War will be great for me to read. And then we've got The Dragon Republic. I'm not sure if I could fit this into a prompt, so I may save this for January, and I've got like a ton of other books to read. But like if there's a forest in this book or in Poppy War, definitely let me know, because then I could use it for the forest prompt. If I can't read Dragon Republic and I'm still somehow done with all these other books, definitely book 3 in the Red Queen series, because one of the prompts is crown on cover, and bam, there's the crown. And honestly, I wasn't too big of a fan of the second book in this series. The first book I liked more than the second book, certainly. But this author is from East Longmeadow, which is a small town in Western Mass, and I am from East Longmeadow, which is a small town in Western Mass. And I actually graduated in the same class as this author's brother, and yeah, just excited to read this one. If I don't like this one, I'll probably just stop reading this series, just because, I was so I wouldn't even say lukewarm on the second book. I would say just like flat out like, ugh, on the second book. But yeah, quickest wrap up ever for the last month. I read Night by Elie Wiesel, which I will link the review for. 2, I read Edge Dancer. 3, I read Oathbringer. 4, I read Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. And 5, I read most of Sword of Kaigen, which again will be reviewed tomorrow. And yeah, that's everything. Same time tomorrow, knuckleheads, for the Sword of Kaigen review. And let me know in the comments what team you guys are on for the Shelf Space Discord readathon, if you're involved in that. And tell me why your team is going to be in second place, because my team's going to win, obviously. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. See you next time. Same time tomorrow, knuckleheads. Yes, PTI reference.